What up, YouTube? G Philly here once again, and tonight's video is going to be another viewer's request. This question comes from one of my viewers. It's a pretty personal question, but since I've been talking about my personal life anyway with you guys, I'm trying to get closer to my subscribers, all the people that watch my videos. Like I said, y'all been riding with me for years now, so I can be open and honest with you guys. But basically the question was, have I ever cheated in a relationship before? And to answer this frankly, yeah, I've cheated before, but don't get me wrong, I'm not like a complete douchebag. I've only cheated once. I've only cheated one time, and to talk about this story, guess we doing story time with G4 Leader, one more time, and the time I cheated, we have to rewind time all the way back to 8th grade, 8th grade, so that's about 6 or 7 years ago, basically. So, yeah, that was the one time I cheated, but the story surrounding it, I had just started going to a new school, before I was going to school in the city. I was going to school in Detroit, but that school I was going to in Detroit had closed down, so I had to go out to a school out in the suburbs, in a different area outside of the city, so I started going there and everything. You know how it is being the new guy, it wasn't that many black people there when I got there, when my 8th grade year, it was not that many black people there, so I was pretty rare out there, but yeah, being the new guy and everything, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how the school was. I was used to shit in Detroit, so things over here was way different. But getting to the girl I met, the lunch lady sat me at this table, because it was because I was new. I didn't know anybody, so the lunch lady sat me at this table with a bunch of girls. I think it was about maybe 5 or 6 white chicks, and right off the jump, one girl in particular at that table caught me off guard. One girl in particular just got to me. I looked at her and I just knew. I was like, oh my god, this girl is fucking gorgeous. I need to have this girl, and yeah, I was pretty ballsy. I went up to her, told her how I felt, and got rejected like a motherfucker. She didn't like me. She wasn't feeling me at all, but being the kind of guy that I was, I didn't stop pursuing her. I kept trying, I kept doing little things, to try to show her I was different than other guys. I was writing her poetry. I was writing her little songs and shit. I was getting her shit on Valentine's Day. I was getting her shit on her. I remember her birthday when nobody else did and shit. I was being that guy. Me and her was friends and shit. And I was doing a lot of good shit for her, and she noticed that shit. She started recognizing me more and more, recognizing my feelings more, and she started thinking to herself, maybe he would be a good boyfriend, because how good of a guy I was to her, so me and her just started texting more. We started passing notes, because we were so whack, I don't know what it is. We just fold notes up in special ways, and when the bell would ring and we would go from class to class, we would pass notes to each other and shit. Don't ask me why, but yeah, we passed notes back and forth, and we was just getting closer and closer, and by the end of it, she finally just gave me a chance. She finally said she liked me back. She said I was the sweetest guy she knew. She finally gave me a chance. And oh my god, I can't. I was happy as hell. I was happy as hell. I was beyond happy. And dating this girl, it was weird. It was weird. It was like bittersweet. Here is this gorgeous girl that I've been trying to get all this time, but being with her wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. She was very, very obnoxious. She was like the obnoxious type. She was very obnoxious, controlling. She didn't like me talking to other girls. She liked to argue a lot and shit too. She loved to argue. She loved to debate me on shit. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes debating is cool, but sometimes I just want you to shut the fuck up. You know, sometimes I just wanted her to be quiet. Just say yes. We don't have to fight in this. Fight on everything. We don't have to debate on everything. Sometimes disagree with me. You know, she was like that tight. You know, but I stuck with her because at the very core of things, she wanted the best for me. She made me go to the library after school to do homework. Of course, I just wanted to go home or wanted to chill with my friends, but no, she made me go to the library with her, get homework done and shit before we go off and do anything. She was very overprotective of me too. It was people out there that was talking shit about me. She'd get very pissed off at other girls for talking shit about me and be ready to fight them and shit. So like I said, she had, amongst the bad qualities, she had a lot of good qualities too. You know, don't get me wrong, she had a lot of good qualities. You know, so I'd say she was like mixed. You know, it wasn't too good, it wasn't too bad. You know, and amongst this, all throughout the school year, there was always this other girl. That girl, you know, that she would always stare at me every time she passed me in the hallway. Every time we had passed by each other, she would stare at me really hard. I was like wondering, like, why this chick keeps staring at me? Like, do I got something on my face? Did she dislike me? Did she got issues with me? Does she know me from somewhere? Why do she keep staring at me? You know, and she would stare at me, and this went on for months too. And finally, you know, I just wrote her one of them little notes that we was writing back and forth and passed it to her. And I asked her, hey yo, you know, to the other girl that I wasn't dating, you know, keep in mind I was still in a relationship with girl number one, you know. So girl number two, I wrote the note to and asked her why you kept staring at me. And she wrote me a note back saying that she liked me and that that she liked me, she thought I was cute and everything, and things to that nature and shit. And y'all saw this girl too was beautiful. This girl was beautiful, and the thing about this girl was she was nicer. She was like nice and sweet. She was like one of the nicest girls I had ever met. So me and her started hanging out more. I was still in a relationship with girl number one, but you know, like I said, girl number two was the sweetest girl I had ever met. You know, she didn't argue with me on everything. She didn't disagree with me about everything. You know, she just wanted to make me happy. Like, I gave her a chance and shit, and this sounds so douchebag-ish, but I asked her out too. So, so here I am dating two of these girls, and it was difficult as fuck because I was in 8th grade. They both was in 7th grade. Girl number one repeated a grade, so she was my age. Girl number two was a year younger, but they was both in 7th grade. But they sat right next to each other in every class, and you have no idea how nerve-wracking that shit was. So walking down the hallway with one girl, and then walking down the hallway with another girl. Oh my god, it was hard to maintain this shit. Like I said, it was like both of them had what each other was missing. You know, girl number one over here, you know, she cared about me, and she wanted me to do good. You know, she wanted me to do homework. She was looking out for me. She wanted to protect me, but she was too much. She was too much. She did all that arguing and debating and controlling this. Y'all know I don't like to be controlled and shit, you know. So like I said, that was girl number one. Girl number two, though, she was beautiful, caring, and loving, and she let me do whatever I want. You know, whatever I wanted to do it, I could do it. You know, and she was just like great too. But at the same time, she wasn't the touchy-feely type. She wasn't the PDA type. She didn't like to do a lot of stuff. She had a very strict family, couldn't do anything. So she couldn't do everything like girl number one could. So girl number one could do everything, girl number two couldn't, you know. So it was like together they was giving me everything I needed in one girl. But I got even more stupid, right? I got even more stupid. I wrote girl number two a poem too. You know, I wrote her songs too. So, and that was my downfall when I did that shit, because girl number two, inevitably came into the classroom bragging about the stuff I did for her. You know, girl number one looked over like, wait, that's not anything happened to me, you know? And then that's how they talked. And I will never forget this shit as long as I live. I walked out the classroom, I walked out of my classroom, and both of them together walked up to me. And oh my god, they both had they had death in their eyes. They wanted to kill me. And I was like, oh, hello ladies. I didn't know what else to say, but the necklace I had got for girl number one, she gave it, I mean, she threw it at me. She threw it at me. Here, she said, here, take this. And girl number two cried. She just cried. She cried so much over me, and I regret that so much. You know, she cried over me. You know, but the thing about it that pissed me off, you know, I lost both girls, by the way. Obviously, I lost both girls, but the thing I regret most about it is that girl number two had somebody else a couple days later. She was with someone else a couple days later. Girl number one really did, so it was obvious girl number two didn't really like me that much if she replaced me that fucking quick. But girl number one, she didn't replace me. She didn't replace me. She of course she hated me for years. Me and her didn't talk again until high school. You know, like my 10th grade year of high school. So me and her didn't talk for years later, but she didn't replace me right away. She didn't date again for like maybe 2 years. No, wait, no, it wasn't 2 years. Like a year she didn't date nobody else. So like I regret that because she genuinely cared for me. She wanted to see me do good. She was that one girl that wanted me to do my homework. She wanted to see me successful. She wanted to do all of these special things for me. You know, that things that I needed to be done in my life, and she wanted me to do it. You know, she was more like a wife type. She was more like a wifey, like the kind of type of person you need to have, you know, to keep you grounded in life. She kept me grounded. And girl number two was literally like that hoe, that mistress type. You know, I don't want to call her a hoe, but she's not a hoe. She's not a hoe. But she was more like the mistress type, you know. And I do regret hurting girl number one, you know. I regret cheating altogether. I never meant to hurt either one of them. You know, losing both of them, losing girl number one, I legitimately did love girl number one because, like I said, she did the most for me and she kept me grounded. She was down to earth. She was real. You know, I love that chick, you know, and I regret hurting her. So, you know, overall, I learned a valuable lesson. Don't cheat, you know. I should have just talked to girl number one and expressed to her my issues, that I needed things to be different. I needed her to fall back a little bit and just accept and just stop arguing with me on everything, and just, you know, I should have talked to her about it instead of going to girl number two, you know, because like I said, I was stupid. I was very stupid. It was like one of the worst moments of my life. Granted, a lot of guys at the school gave me props for keeping 2 girlfriends at the same time for so long, because that was like 7 or 8 months I was doing that. You know, the guys gave me props, but I didn't want that props. I felt like a complete dirtbag, you know. And currently, fast forward to 2012, girl number one do not talk to me anymore. I mean, she threw me and her. I don't know what happened with girl number one. Like I said, I still do care about her a lot. She was a lot of my first. She was a lot of my first and everything, so I'll always care for her. But me and girl number two, we friends. She's currently engaged right now to some guy, and that shit's kind of gay. But as long as I'm glad she's happy. She found someone that made her happy and shit. But overall, in summary, don't cheat. Like I said, don't cheat. It's not worth it. I had a perfect girl, and I had 2 girls. I ended up with 0 girls, you know. And when I could have just ended up with the good girl number one, you know. So overall, don't fucking cheat. It's not worth it. It's too hard too. The shit is difficult to maintain. Don't do that shit. So that's the ending message. Don't fucking cheat.